No wreck, no bodies. Not one confirmed piece of debris in 117 years. 211 people sailed out of a South African harbor on a fine winter evening in 1909, aboard a ship the newspapers had called practically unsinkable. And the sea simply took them, whole. But 3 days before it happened, one man already knew. He was an engineer named Claude Sawyer, traveling from Australia to London, an experienced man, a dozen ocean crossings behind him. Yet 3 nights into this voyage, he began to have the same dream, again and again. A figure standing at the foot of his bunk, holding a sword in one hand and a cloth soaked in blood in the other. When the ship reached Durban, Sawyer made up his mind. He forfeited his ticket, gathered his luggage, and walked down the gangway. He sent his wife a telegram of just 6 words. Thought Waratah top heavy. Landed Durban. 3 days later, the SS Waratah sailed into legend. This is her story, and I'd suggest getting comfortable because it does not end the way these stories usually end. On July 25, 1909, Claude Sawyer stood on the Durban docks, watching the SS Waratah prepare for her final run. As a professional mechanical engineer, his decision to forfeit his ticket was not made lightly. Beyond the chilling dreams of a sword-bearing figure in a blood-soaked cloth, Sawyer had watched the bathwater on board tilt to a steep angle and hang there, refusing to level out. His 6-word telegram to his wife, "Thought Waratah top heavy, landed Durban," was a direct, urgent warning. 3 days later, the ship vanished. 211 people disappeared forever into the wild waters off the South African coast, and rescuers would never find wreckage, bodies, or a verified debris trail. Sawyer's haunting testimony remains the first quiet crack in the vessel's otherwise flawless reputation. On September 12, 1908, the Glasgow shipyard of Barclay Curle launched the SS Waratah into the River Clyde. Built for the prestigious Blue Anchor Line, the vessel stretched nearly 500 feet and measured over 9,000 gross register tons. She was named after the crimson wildflower of New South Wales, designed to carry cargo and emigrants between Great Britain and Australia. The liner boasted 100 first-class cabins and a luxurious music lounge, promising a new standard of ocean travel. Newspapers quickly labeled her practically unsinkable, pointing to her double bottom and 8 watertight compartments. Yet, a quiet shadow hung over the choice of name. Lloyd's casualty registers recorded that 2 earlier vessels named Waratah had already been lost at sea, one foundering off Ushant in 1848, and another vanishing in the Gulf of Carpentaria in 1897. But in 1908, public confidence in the Steel Titan remained absolute. Troubling reports about the ship's behavior began to circulate during her maiden voyage. Passengers and crew noticed an alarming tenderness in heavy seas. The ship did not merely roll, she lingered. During one rough passage, the vessel listed so sharply that seawater poured through open portholes on the upper decks. At the far end of each roll, the 9,000-ton liner seemed to hang in the water, hesitating before slowly fighting her way back upright. The builders at Barclay Curle flatly rejected any design flaws, pointing to calculations that guaranteed her safety. Captain Joshua Ilbery, too, remained steadfast, publicly defending his command. Yet the memory of that sluggish, hanging roll remained with those who had watched the sea climb toward the glass. On the evening of July 26, 1909, the SS Waratah cleared Durban Harbor, carrying 211 people on the final leg of her second homeward voyage. The ship had paused only to take on coal before setting out for Cape Town. Her route lay along a busy, well-charted coastal corridor rather than a remote ocean crossing. The weather at departure was fine, the sea calm. At 6 o'clock the following morning, the cargo steamer Clan McIntyre sighted the Waratah. The 2 vessels initiated a routine signal lamp exchange, confirming identities and courses in the pre-dawn darkness. Traveling faster, the Waratah overtook the freighter and slowly pulled ahead. By 9:30 in the morning, she faded into the gathering haze near the Bashi River mouth. This was her last confirmed contact. Because the liner carried no wireless telegraphy equipment, she was now entirely isolated. Within hours, a severe cyclonic storm slammed into the coast. Hurricane-force winds collided directly with the fast-moving Agulhas current, which runs southwest at nearly 3 knots. Oceanographers know this collision as a recipe for disaster. When massive swells run head-on into such a current, the wave energy is compressed and focused. Waves steepen violently, transforming into rogue waves up to 20 meters high that drop into a trough, the terrifying hole in the sea effect. While the Clan McIntyre survived farther back in the weather system, the Waratah was directly in the impact zone. That evening, the steamer Harlow reported seeing heavy smoke and 2 bright flashes on the horizon. Later, the Guelph spotted a flashing light, struggling to read a partial signal that ended in the letters TAH. Then, the storm closed in. The SS Waratah was scheduled to steam into Cape Town on July 29, 1909. When that day passed without her silhouette appearing on the horizon, the silence shifted from a routine delay into an active crisis. The British Admiralty dispatched Royal Navy cruisers to sweep the coastline, initiating what would soon become one of the most exhaustive search operations in maritime history. Over the next 88 days, a dedicated vessel covered 14,000 miles, tracing and retracing the coastal shelf. Yet the ocean yielded absolutely nothing. No oil slicks, no floating deck chairs, no shattered woodwork, and no bodies ever surfaced. Driven by desperation, the families of those on board later financed a private search expedition stretching south toward the Antarctic drift ice. This long drift hope survived on a practical, if tenuous, calculation. The Waratah's refrigerated holds were packed with frozen beef, and she carried a year's worth of provisions. If she had lost steering and drifted helplessly south, those on board might still be alive. But the ice fields offered no answers. Despite the immense rational scale of the efforts, searchers returned completely empty-handed. In December 1910, the Board of Trade convened a formal inquiry in London to resolve the mystery. Under oath, shipbuilders, naval architects, and former passengers, including Claude Sawyer, presented 2 incompatible portraits of the Waratah. One side described a tender, sluggish vessel that lingered dangerously during rolls, and the other insisted she was structurally sound, a case strengthened by Captain Joshua Ilbery's 27 years of unblemished service. Ultimately, the court reached a dead end. The final ruling declared the ship lost in the storm of July 28, 1909, but admitted the exact cause remained entirely unknown. The sea knows where they are. It has simply never said. Subscribe to follow more historical mysteries. A century of speculation offers several pathways to the bottom, though none fit perfectly. A sudden cargo shift of the 1,000 tons of lead concentrate could have instantly overwhelmed the ship's marginal stability, or a rogue wave generated at the shelf break where the Agulha's current met the gale might have plunged her bow first into the sea. Others suggest a coal bunker explosion, or a slow drift south into the Antarctic ice. If the hull rests near the coast, shifting seabed sediment may have buried it, or the wreck simply lies outside the assumed search area. Beginning in the 1980s, explorer M. Lynn Brown spent decades searching the coastline. In 1999, his sonar detected a promising contact near the Exora River, raising hopes of a breakthrough. But a camera inspection in 2001 identified the wreck as a Second World War transport sunk by a German U-boat. Brown later admitted he had exhausted every idea he had. The Waratah remains missing, lost somewhere in the Southern Ocean, leaving only theories in her wake. We still stare into the wild Southern Ocean, haunted by Sawyer's chilling escape and the silence that followed. Ultimately, the sea knows where they are. It has simply never said. Subscribe for more untold mysteries.